So for anyone who doesn't know, there's a small drama channel called Coach Red Pill that's being run by a confidence trickster known as Gonzalo Lira, and it's weird that we're enemies. I actually don't know what I've done to incite this man's ire, but he has recently been engaged in the ideological battle between Krauts and T and a group of left-wing scientists and the alt-right. I've been watching, but I'm not a scientist, so I'm in no way qualified, and not even as a layman well educated enough to give an input on who's right and who's wrong. In fact, I'm learning a remarkable amount from it, and I'm quite enjoying the exchanges, even though they are quite emotionally charged. Until recently, when the whole thing seems to have gone off the rails, and this Coach Red Pill chap has really found himself as a key player in all of that. And I just want to show you what I mean. So this is a post that Coach Red Pill put on his YouTube channel a few days ago. I took the screenshot a couple of days back. And the scandal, that he calls it, the Kraut and his secret dox and smear Discord server, which I don't really know very much about because I wasn't in it. There are 4 issues that trouble him greatly. So apparently there was a New York Times reporter involved with this. I had no idea, and I don't know anything about that. The participants who are the targets were on his dox and smear campaign. Why they were targeted, I don't really know about that. There was something about the Kilroy event as well. Base Mama was in there. I don't really know about that. Again, I wasn't in the server, and I haven't been following this very closely. But I have been following this Coach Red Pill guy, because I bumped into him in a camera shop in London, which I do think was a coincidence. I mean, I hadn't told anyone I was going to the camera shop, so I don't see how he could possibly have known that I was going to be there. And he seemed quite surprised to see me. He's also really passive in real life. Really passive. Kind of a cuck, actually. It was weird that I was the one doing all the talking, and he was the one sitting there passively, agreeing with everything I said. But anyway, point 4. Clearly Sargon knew what Kraut was up to. I have evidence written in his own hand, so why didn't the leader of the skeptics put a stop to this, or expose it before it had snowballed into this scandal? Interesting take on things. Let's clear up a few misconceptions. I'm not the leader of anything. I get a lot of people asking me to be the leader of something. I get a lot of people asking me to become a member of parliament and run for office. I refuse these at every turn. I don't want to be a leader of anything. I don't want to be a member of parliament, but we'll come back to that soon. As I'd never been in the Discord server, I didn't know what went on there. And I didn't really care either. It wasn't really my business, and I have my own work to do. So I was just keeping out of it. It's interesting that he says, I have evidence written in his own hand. So a public statement that I've made about Kraut. But anyway, so I didn't know what Kraut was doing in his Discord server. But every now and again, Kraut would tell me something like, via a private message on Skype, he'd tell me something like, I found out who Coach Red Pill's real name is. And I would say something back to him, roughly approximating to, what's the point? There's no point trying to dig up anything on these people. You should address the arguments you're having with them on the merits of the arguments and refute them that way. Not only is that the honest thing to do, it's the moral thing to do, and it's the only way you're actually ever going to win this argument. Because the only time digging up something on someone is really very relevant is to demonstrate that they are a hypocrite in order to discredit their position as an authority on something. The alt-right are not authorities on anything. They don't have any power. They have nothing. They are off in the wilderness as a small fringe group. And so why not deal with them honestly? Any dirty tactics you use against them just make you look bad, not them. So there's no point doing it, and as I said, it's not the right thing to do. Which is why every time I spoke to Kraut about this, I told him not to do it. But I'm not his boss, I'm his friend, and I gave him my advice, obviously confidentially, because we are friends, and you don't just leak things from your friends. And as far as I was aware, he hadn't actually spread anything around, he hadn't actually made any information public. So what exactly was I supposed to do? As far as I can tell, I've done nothing wrong. Which is why it's weird that this Coach Red Pill guy seems to have such animus against me, and he seems so intent on dragging me into this. So let's talk about Coach Red Pill's fear of being doxed, which is really bizarre. I mean, this must have real consequences for him, right? If that's the case, why does he put his address on his Patreon? If that's the case, why does he have a video in which he doxes himself?
W2 5BD. Let me repeat that. It's W2 5B as in boy, D as in dog.
Kind of weird for someone who's afraid of being doxed. Unless this wasn't about him being afraid of being doxed, and in fact this was some form of stratagem on his part. Which I have to say, it's really starting to look like to me. Because to me this is all starting to look like some kind of elaborate plan. Like 5 days ago, some shit is going down. Something wonderful will happen. That's what this clip is. It's very bizarre. What wonderful thing is going to happen? These are some DMs that he had with Braving Ruin, who had decided to put these on Twitter because he felt that what Coach was doing was beyond the pale, and I fully agree with him. He says, "I'm finishing my Kraut video. Later this week I'm doing a Sargon video. There's enough circumstantial evidence to point him to knowing about this server and about what Kraut was up to." Now, you'd think that he could just ask me, given how I have him on Skype, and we'll go through our Skype chat in a minute, but it's interesting how he seems desperate to frame me for something with circumstantial evidence. So Braving Ruin says, "How do you know Sargon knew?" And he posts a picture of a public comment that I made, which we can see in a larger version here. This was on a video by Jean-Francois Garipay, who's someone I rather like, and it's his conversation with Uzalu, who I consider to be another friend of mine. Uzalu had been having personal problems with Kraut that I didn't know about, and when I saw this, I posted this comment. "I don't approve of how Kraut is acting here at all. I don't see why he'd feel like he'd have some sort of claim on Uzalu's behaviour, and I don't know why he's digging up dirt on people. I've told him personally that he shouldn't." I couldn't be more clear with that. "I've told him repeatedly to watch the videos that have been made against him and suggested you guys have a stream, as in a debate. I had no idea he'd been DMing Uzalu like this. I'm quite surprised, to say the least, because I was. To be clear, I knew Kraut had been digging things up on people. I had told him not to do so. As far as I was aware, he hadn't made any of it public, and I had told him, repeatedly, in the most direct terms, not to do it. That's the limit of my authority over Kraut, because Kraut is just a friend of mine. There's nothing I can do to control his behaviour other than give him my opinion," which I did. Braving Ruin sensibly says, "I've seen that comment. It does not prove that Sargon knew the full extent of what was going on. He was never in the server." Coach Red Pill replies with, "He knew enough to know what was going on. You're absolutely right. It is not proof. But you'll never find a picture of the murderer saying cheese to the cameraman while holding a bloody knife and standing over the dead body." Kind of looks like the coach is presuming that I'm guilty already and is just looking for a way to frame me. And given that these are private DMs, it seems that he was actively plotting to frame me. So earlier today, he decided to leak our entire Skype log of chats, which is fine with me, because it means now I can go through these things and show you the kind of person that Coach Red Pill actually is. So this is the beginning of our conversation. He sent me an invite on Skype saying, "I had a nice chat in the cafe with you the other day in London." I said, "Yeah, I did too. I told you I'm doing a live stream." He invites me to a live stream. I don't think I did it. And then he asked me if I want to have a talk about Mein Kampf, which is something I'm reading at the moment, and I wasn't able to. He said, in response to a conversation about the skeptic community that I did with Dr. Lehman, he says, "Good conversation with Lehman, surprisingly honest." I said, "I'm an honest man," to which he says, "lol," which I find bizarre because I think I have been entirely honest and transparent in my YouTube career. I don't recall a single thing I have lied about, which makes it all the more bizarre when someone calls me a liar. I don't know how I can be more transparent and honest. But it seems that the coach is trying to craft me into something that I am actively resisting. He says, "You went nowhere with the Chris Ray gun issue. You were clearly going somewhere and you decided against speaking your mind. Ditto with Dave Cullen. Kraut was the closest you came to being straight and honest about your criticism of him." I was direct about my criticisms of Kraut. But I was about the other people. The other people have their strengths, they have their weaknesses, and I suggested what they could do to improve. If you want to lead your skeptic group, then lead them. I don't. I am not the leader of anyone. These are individuals who are independent of me, who I may well know or I may not know, and I may be friends with or may not be friends with, but that's between me and those people. There's no skeptic card. I mean, I wouldn't even call myself a skeptic. I'm a liberal activist. I imagine a lot of these people would either call themselves liberal or conservative activists as well. The term skeptic is something that our enemies apply to us. So I don't know why he would think I would want to be the leader of the skeptic group, but I reject being a leader of anything. And if I ever do say that I'm going to be the leader of something, I will make it crystal clear exactly what I'm the leader of and what the rules are for being part of my organisation. But until that day comes, I am the leader of nothing, and I want it that way. He says, it's as if you're reluctant to lead them, yet want to lead them. Make up your mind, follow Yoda's advice, do or do not, there is no try. But this is the interesting part. Finally, when you say, we could be kicking their asses, referring to the alt-right, no you can't, that's what Kraut learned the hard way. Stop trying to fight people who are A, more closely allied to your viewpoint than the alt-right or anyone in the corporatist centre or the aggressive left, and B, be better prepared, tougher and more relentless than you are. The alt-right should be used as the shock troops, the tip of the spear, the forward edge. There's no sense in fighting them when they could be powerful allies and used to one's advantage. Well, I don't really like the idea of manipulating the alt-right, but to be fair, this is not necessarily a bad power analysis, and if people in the alt-right want to talk about this, we can. This is one of the things I was interested in talking to Millennial Woes about, because pointing out that you guys can actually get what you want via the alt-right is, via the social justice warriors, is one way that we can work together. But anyway, conversation for another day. But it's interesting how he says, Sargon, send Kraut a message from me. Never show your cards before you've played your hand. Well, I didn't send him a message on behalf of the coach. By the way, I'd love to chat again sometime. I enjoyed myself when we met at Leon's. I hope you did too. Best C. You can see he's sucking up to me. It's almost like he has one face in public and one face in private to me. It's weird, isn't it? He says that I'm failing to use the alt-right as shock troops and cannon fodder because I'm being too transparent with what I want. And so I said, well, I have to be honest with them. I mean, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to approach it honestly. And he says, why? All is fair in love and war, mate, lol. And I just replied with, because I'm an honest person. And he says, leaders aren't honest, they use honesty as a tactic, which I think is rather revealing about the coach. To which I replied, I'm not a leader. To which he replies, I know. So it makes his attempts to characterize me as a leader seem a bit disingenuous, doesn't it? Given how he knows that I'm not trying to be the leader of anything, and he just thinks that honesty is a tactic. So there are a few more pages of us talking, and it's really just friendly banter. You know, I'll leave a link in the description, obviously, so you can go and read through it yourself, but there's nothing very interesting in those pages. But it gets interesting on the Sunday, where I sent him a post I'd made on my Facebook page calling him a snake, to which he replies, yes, and you knew about the doxing Kraut was involved in, which I didn't. You think you're going to skate away from this? I said, no, I didn't, obviously. You did, I know you did. Well, I'm sorry, coach, but we've seen your DMs and we've seen your evidence. We know what you knew, and you didn't know. You were trying to frame me. And I know I didn't know, because I'm me. So I just replied with, I don't care. Enjoy your drama. I'm not interested at all. I've always told Kraut to do the work and not stir up drama. It's a waste of time. Goodbye. And then he replies, look at you, all nervous Nelly. I'm amused. Did you honestly think it wouldn't come out? Did you really think no one would find out? It's an interesting tactic, because he must have known that I knew I didn't know. So why he thought he could bluff in this way is honestly really impressive in a way, that someone would have the balls to do this. Just as an intimidation tactic. I mean, he must have known that I knew. And so he spends his time trying to rile me up. I say, do your worst. I don't know what you think you have, but I know what I do and do not do. And he says, I don't have to do my worst. You did it for me. And I say, if you say so. And he says, I'll let you have the last word. Go on, give the last word, lol. Which obviously didn't reply. I'd sent him this post that I posted to my Facebook, which interestingly is for a post from someone called Red Pill Religion, who is Dean Esme, the ex-men's rights activist who took solace in his Catholic identity, I think. This was regarding the original release of the logs of Kraut's server or something. To be honest with you, I didn't actually pay that much attention to it. I haven't been through any of them, so I don't know what's in there or anything like that. But I'm breathing easy as I wasn't nabbed here, because I didn't do anything wrong. He's a bigger fish and even more dirty. You'd think that if that were the case, it'd be easy to prove it, because it's really easy to prove that Gonzalo here is really dirty, but we'll get to that shortly. But Coach Redpill, showing his other face, don't worry, the fat eel isn't slipping away so easily. There's something else coming, because he's been plotting this for a while, and he's been trying to charm me to keep me unaware and to keep me off guard, as if I don't recognize a con artist when I see one. So anyway, today he published this video, Sargon New, which we already know because I posted this on JF's stream that Kraut had messaged me to say that he'd dug stuff up and I told him not to do it. That's the extent of my knowledge, and I was very clear about this. But let's have a look at what Coach has.
But the most significant was that I alleged that Sargon of Akkad, the leader of the skeptic community, was perfectly aware of the doxing and smearing campaign that Kraut was carrying out.
Right. Two falsehoods here. One, I'm not the leader of the skeptic community. Secondly, Kraut had not actually done anything with this information to the best of my knowledge, so I didn't need to do anything with this either. I made my feelings on this very clear, repeatedly to Kraut, and that is the extent of my power in this situation. And also, the coach doxed himself repeatedly. This is not a threat under which the coach lives in fear.
Now, my evidence for this was quite tenuous. And in point of fact, one could argue that it was very weak, and I would agree. It was very weak, but from my experience, it was enough. And I was convinced that it was true. And I laid out my very slim evidence and put out the fact that Sargon of Akkad, since he knew, as I believed him to have known this was going on, since he knew, he should have put a stop to it. He should have put a stop to it instantly. The second that he heard about what was going on, he should have said, no, this is unacceptable.
How would I do that other than by simply saying I found it unacceptable? What could I possibly do? I don't have any control over the Discord server that I'd never been to. I don't have any personal control over Kraut. The only thing I can do is tell him my opinion on what he's doing, which I did repeatedly. What could I have done? I don't have a membership license or card that I can revoke from him. I can't stop paying him as I don't pay him anything anyway. What could I possibly do? But more importantly, as you saw in our Skype DMs, Coach already knows I'm not the leader, but he wants me to be the leader, because suddenly then he thinks he can hold me responsible for something that didn't happen to him, of which he has no fear anyway because he has already done it himself. This man is a charlatan, a con artist, a confidence trickster. But let's go on. I want to hear his quote-unquote evidence.
He should have acted like a leader. That's what I said. Now, this morning, unsolicited, I got a copy of a recording. I'm going to play you that recording.
Jeff, oh my god, the fact that I gathered this data on Coach Redpill is going to bite me in the fucking ass because he knows I gathered it. Where the fuck is Jeff Holiday now?
That's
Oh my god.
that's what I was concerned about. I think somehow the drama is sort of bleeding over into what's going on with you, Kraut. Well, maybe we can discuss that afterwards. But
Which drama?
my drama. It's that part of the skeptic community. I have a reputation that's being spread. There's a slander going around. They're trying to turn me into the next AIU. That's basically what's happening, and this is where Sargon is getting his ideas. People are just trying to. They're afraid of a few things. I could explain pretty much everything. Every accusation, I have proof for pretty much everything. They don't have any proof. This is all just sort of a smear campaign because I more or less started exposing people for their bullshit, and people don't like to be cornered like that. So it's causing a problem. And I think
Is this Sargon telling me to stay in my place?
Yeah, pretty much.
To not go after the alt-right?
Sorry, no, why?
I don't think so. I think what he says is that if things are construed to be tactics of the SJWs, it looks bad on anyone and nobody wins.
True. Crowd, you need to let him know that any information that you gathered on Coach Red Pill was a background check on his credentials and who he is as a person. That is all. It wasn't meant for tactics to be used against him in a SJW way. It was to verify his credibility as somebody who speaks in that field of expertise.
Jeff. The data I gathered on Coach Red Pill is now being used against me, essentially. They think.
What do you mean?
That's the thing. Like, the first thing he brought up, why are you gathering private information, like, for example, on Coach Red Pill?
It's not private information.
And here's the thing. He claims I've been doing the same with Ryan Falk, etc., that I'm gathering private data.
What's private about Ryan Falk?
Brian Falk.
I have to tell you something, Jeff. I shared the things that I got on Coach Red Pill with Sargon of Akkad.
Yeah, so?
And he's now accusing me of doing SJW tactics.
That's not SJW tactics. That's vetting somebody who's talking as a public figure. Exactly. That's something every news organization does. That's something every fucking YouTuber does. That's absolutely fucking preposterous. The only reason why anybody gives a shit about any of this is because they're positioning themselves as being persecuted. That is a fucking SJW tactic. Oh, I'm a persecution. This is why it's wrong. No, what's wrong is defrauding a fucking economist. What's wrong is being a large piece of shit that has to hide from social media for 3 years. Like, none of that is personal information. None of it is.
No. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? So, like I said, Krat had told me that he'd dug up stuff on Coach, and I said, don't do that. I wasn't in this conversation, obviously, so this actually isn't evidence of anything. But I am happy to say that this is exactly how I behaved, perfectly consistently and in line with my principles, within the limits of my power to try and get Kraut to stop digging up stuff on other people and just address the arguments. That's all I ever wanted him to do, and that's all I ever encouraged him to do, and I have done nothing wrong. So you can imagine my surprise when I see a video called Sargon New attacking me as if I am somehow party to all of this, which I am not.
All that was easily found online thanks to his own inability to use a different name on his own Patreon account. I don't understand why Sargon, who has done this himself...
Dude, if somebody was smearing me on Tube, I would look into their past. I would look into their background. I would not release that information, but I would want to know who they are. And
Does Sargon think because I was looking up this woman who's giving people bad health advice, that when she was giving somebody psychological support and they ended up killing themselves and I revealed that in a video, I doxed that person? Dude, fuck off. That's absolutely preposterous.
Just to be clear, I don't think that what they are doing there is actually doxing. I don't know of any actual doxing that has taken place. I haven't seen this information being spread around outside of somewhere called Kiwifarms, which is a link that someone sent me the other day, which I did take a look at, and it's quite eye-opening. So no, so far I wouldn't say that anyone has actually doxed anyone. Looking up this information is not in and of itself doxing. Spreading it around maliciously is doxing, and I've yet to see any evidence of that actually happening. So it's very interesting that this is the accusation being levelled. This evidence, in my opinion, is incredibly weak. If anything, this seems to be evidence that exonerates me completely as being the party who is in the right here and has done nothing wrong, who has been consistent with their principles and honest with everyone. And nothing Coach has shown has indicated otherwise. So it's really bizarre to watch him do a video saying Sargon knew, like I hadn't publicly admitted this and told everyone outright exactly what I knew and exactly what I'd done about it and exactly what I do and do not approve of.
Before we get into what is revealed in this recording, I just want to tell you guys something.
Before we go any further, I'd just like to say thank you to the coach for putting that in his video, because as far as I'm concerned, that's fabulous for my case, and I seem to have done nothing wrong.
See, you know, somebody who doesn't speak any English could listen to that conversation and they would hear desperation, fear. Where is this fear coming from? Because all the people in that call knew that what they were doing was wrong. They knew that what they were doing, what they were involved in, what they were carrying out was morally wrong. People who are innocent of what they're doing, people who are just going about their business, about their work, having a meeting, talking about the problems of their work, they don't sound like that. They don't sound like that at all. Those people knew that what they were doing was wrong, and they rationalized it and pretended, that it wasn't like, they just rationalized away their behavior, but they knew that it was wrong. So I want to tell you this before we get into the specifics. If you are ever in a meeting where the people sound like that, where you sound like that, I want you to please get up off your chair, turn around, and walk out of the room.
I have some advice for people as well. If you're ever dealing with someone who admits to being a snake, and who, with one face, tells you how much they enjoyed talking to you, and with the other, turn around and call you all sorts of names just because they think the people they're dealing with want to hear that, you get up out of the room and you walk away from that person. It's good advice.
Because you're not involved in anything decent or good.
For that exact reason.
And you should not be having such a conversation. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to read off the salient points that I gathered from this recording, and then I'm going to draw a few conclusions. Now, the first salient point that I gathered from this was that, number one, Kraut himself gathered data on me. Number two, Kraut shared what he gathered with Sargon of Akkad before this conversation.
Just to be clear, because Kraut wasn't very clear in his recording, Kraut didn't share anything with me that wasn't already public on the internet. For example, his appearances on Russia Today and things like this.
That's very interesting because this conversation, it sounds like it occurred right after my post of December 5th, where I said that Kraut planned to dox me, and here he is having this conversation apparently after that video had come out, my video. And from the way that they're talking, it's as if Sargon and Kraut had been speaking before. So when I said in yesterday's video that perhaps as early as December 11th, Sargon was aware of what was going on, we're going to have to push that date a lot farther back. Now we're moving into the territory of November.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the dates. But just whenever Kraut's brought any of this up, I've just told him, stop doing this and get on with the arguments.
Okay. So Sargon of Akkad knew for several weeks what Kraut and T was up to. The third salient point is that Sargon told Kraut that what he was doing was what SJWs did. So Sargon was aware of the morally indefensible act that Kraut was carrying out.
Wow. It's quite amazing that someone who has such demonstrably immoral actions can sit there and pontificate from a moral high horse. I have said repeatedly what I know. I've said repeatedly to Kraut that he shouldn't do this, and somehow our good coach wishes to make this a moral failing.
Sargon himself said that it was something that SJWs do, therefore something that we should not do, our side should not do. All right. Now those...
What a hypocrite.
Seem to be the salient points of this conversation. I'm sure other people with other interests will find other little tidbits in this recording. It's disappointing. It's just disappointing. And it's pathetic. And all this garbage talk about arguing the points, confronting the argument, not the person making the argument, it was all hypocrisy, all bullshit.
How is that hypocrisy and bullshit? That has been my consistent position from the beginning of all of this. In fact, from my entire career, in fact. But that's been my consistent position through all of this. How is this hypocrisy and bullshit? I just do not understand how you think you can say these things to the public and expect people to just believe you. This is what I mean about confidence Trickster. He can say these things that are self-evidently not true, despite his own past of lies and manipulation and plotting to try and frame me, to try and get this to be something, and still he has 700 upvotes on this video. There are people who are taken in by this, and you have to be careful of people like this, because he's not a stupid man. He's an intelligent man. He's quite a well-educated man. He's an experienced man, and for some reason he had to stay off of the internet for the last 3 years. Weird. I wonder why.
Sargon of Akkad knew what was going on.
No, I didn't.
Sargon of Akkad knew what was going on. He knew it full well, and he did not put a stop to it. He could have. He had at least 2 weeks before this whole thing broke over the weekend.
Rather amusing, isn't it? He acts like I'm employing Kraut. He acts like I have something I can take away from Krauts. There is nothing that I have ever given him. I don't own him. I don't have any claim to him. But he, even though he knows I'm not Kraut's boss, wants to portray me as this. And it's only so he can try and smear me with some dirt. And you know what's really interesting about that? Is that going back to our Skype conversations, he says, looks like it's breaking. If you're smart, you'll get way ahead of it, because there are streams where a reasonable person would interpret your words as signaling that you were aware of Kraut's doxing and smear Discord server and all the skeptics involved. Just a friendly warning. And I said, not really. I wasn't in the server and I didn't know what they did. Better get ahead of this thing. It's going to blow this weekend and the shit is going to land squarely on the skeptics, including you, fairly or not. It's very interesting. And he says, again, this is a friendly warning, so I say appreciated. I won't be accepting any responsibility for the things I didn't do or encourage, so I'm not worried, to be honest. The base mama stuff I haven't heard of until now, because I hadn't. If you want to talk about this, I'm happy to, but don't be naive. When a shit bomb goes off, a lot of people get splattered, fairly or not. Well, I guess it does, especially if you're the one who has actively planned it and executed it. All the while talking to me out of one side of your mouth as if we're buddies, and out of the other side of your mouth condemning me to people who I guess must hate me, because for some reason you hate me too, and I don't even know why. I have no idea why we're enemies. But hey, I guess we are. Someone commented on his video, "You're going too far, Coach Red Pill. We don't dislike Sargon enough to make a big deal out of this." And he says, I do. These people doxed me and want to hurt me, and Sargon acquiesced. He doesn't get a pass for that cowardice, not from me. It's a lie, isn't it? They didn't actually dox you. They collected information on you, but they didn't actually spread it around as far as I'm aware. But you doxed yourself, and you spread that around pretty fine. And when you say I acquiesced, what you mean is I objected and said I would have no part of it and distanced myself from what was going on. Strange way of acquiescing, but I guess I'm just a coward that way. Just like I'd cowardly threaten Jeff Holiday on a stream that I'd come to America and punch out his lights, or whatever it was you said, when he started getting under your skin.
Yeah, plenty of time to realize that what was going on was wrong. He himself handled confidential information about me.
Did I? What confidential information did I handle? I saw your Russia Today videos. Didn't seem very confidential. Saw your address, but that was only because you made a video about it. You tell me, what did I handle that was confidential, Coach? Seemed to be lying, manipulating people, trying to play both sides, and trying to set me up to hurt me for reasons that nobody really can understand, because the reason you've given for it is an outright lie. What is your problem?
That information was given to him by Kraut.
You don't know.
Sargon knew. I'm not going to talk anymore about this stuff. It just depresses the hell out of me, to tell you the truth. It's just sad and pathetic.
It's weird, because you seem to be loving every second of it. I've been following your culture warrioring very closely. And like I say, you appear to have been plotting this. And that's only because I spoke to Braving Ruin, and he released your DMs. We know what you've been doing. You've trying to play both sides, presumably for your own advantage. And the problem that you're coming up against is, as much as I might ideologically disagree with the alt-right, I don't think Ryan Falk is scum. I don't think Braving Ruin is scum. I don't think JF is scum. I in fact think that these are men who, again, while I might disagree with them, still consider their own personal honour to be something that they value. It's a point of contention when they would be forced to break that code of honour. At least that's the impression I get from just talking to them. And that's something I can respect, because that's the kind of man I am too. And I fully understand that if you're not that kind of man, it might be very difficult to understand that. And I think if we've learned one thing from all of this, is that the coach is certainly not that kind of man.
This is now on Twitter. I'm reading a whole shitload of stuff about me. People calling me a con man, people calling me this, that, the other. They're all screeching like drowning rats.
I wonder why they'd be calling you a con man. Is it because you seem to be demonstrably a con man? So this was posted to Kiwifarms. Now, it says King of Pole posted it, and we verified it. And if it is King of Pole, the one I know, hey man, how's it going? How you doing? Long time no speak. like, I don't know whether it is. I don't know who it was that actually posted this. It could just be someone with a similar name or something like that. I don't know. But this is just all public information. I mean, as you can see, it's YouTube videos. It's him archives. It's nothing that's not already public. It's just been brought together on this post. And you know what's really interesting is that his first career began in 2010-2011 as the successful world-renowned economist, which I'm going to just take at face value, because the coach seems like a trustworthy kind of guy. And he got together with someone called Steve Keen, who is actually a known and real economist. And so you might be wondering why debunking economics is in those links. That'd be Steve Keen's website, where he posts multiple lectures he gives and posts conversations with subscribers to the website. Now, the original version of that website was free for anyone, and Steve Keen was beginning to be unable to manage it due to its size and growth. That was when Gonzalo Lira, aka Coach Red Scam, proposed a subscription-based website where subscribers would pay $40 a month and Gonzalo would manage the website for Steve. Based off a website that Coach Red Scam had previously made, the website that does not exist anymore but was called liraspg.com, he said he would maintain the entirety of the website as long as it got 300 new subscribers a month. Now here is where the scam begins. Professor Keen was notified from his payment statement from the website itself, debunkingeconomics.com, that the amount of payments were only half the expected amount of the number of users. Keen notified Coach Red Scam multiple times during the event of this issue, while Coach stated that he was incorrectly calculating expected revenue. Yes, the Google Pro failed economist telling a real economist his figures are wrong. Over several months of trying to fix the deficit, Professor Keen decided to shut down the site. Coach Red Scam refused to acknowledge the emails to shut down the site, and after 6 months of requesting the coach shut down the site, Professor Keen recommended to all of his followers to change credit card information to protect themselves from our little scam artist here. Even to this day, Professor Keen has nothing good to say about Coach Red Scam. If I sang a song about him, it would be You Are Soul, with the 2 words alliterated for effect. So, it looks like Coach Red Pill has actually legitimately scammed a bunch of people out of a bunch of money, which I presume is the reason why he had to get off social media for 3 years. This gained so much attention that an economic magazine wrote on this very topic here. Steve Keen fights back after his website is stolen by Gonzalo Lira. Whew. Seems a little shady. It seems like a weird thing to do. Why would you just steal someone's website and start siphoning off money and tell them, The Economist, that his sums for the website's income are wrong? And as far as I'm concerned, that's the pertinent information on Gonzalo Lira, aka Coach Red Pill. I'm not interested in what a known con artist, scammer, and confidence trickster has to say about me. What he thinks I knew, and any malfeasance that he thinks I have been involved with. I mean, I don't know whether he's noticed, but I have a successful YouTube career that I have built on the back of being an honest man. I have never taken any money from anyone other than my patrons, or YouTube, obviously. I've never been involved in any of these sort of underground things. I keep my nose clean because I know I have to. And to be honest with you, it feels great. I'm not going to lie, it feels really good. It feels really, really good to know that I'm the one who's doing the right thing, because I know that a lot of people aren't. Maybe these are people who might want to sort their lives out, especially if, I don't know, they were thinking about leaving a library of videos to their child when their child was older, so the child could see just what their old man was like. Because you know what? I know that when my son is old enough to watch my YouTube videos, he'll be beaming with pride at his old man, because I have done nothing wrong, and you know it.